Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. We made it to June. Sometimes May feels like 2 or 3 months all in 1 month, but we have made it to June. Bittersweet day here at church, but we're not going to focus on that because that might make Peter and I too sad that today is Pastor Berlin's last day. But we will focus on the happy. Yeah, I know, I'm sad too, Peter. We will focus on Job, which I say the happy, it starts happy and real quick takes a plot twist, turn downhill, rather rapidly. Okay, so boys and girls, Job chapter 1. It is in your Bible, it looks like the word job, but it's Job, the name of the main character here. Verse number 1, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. So I was fairly certain I knew what eschewed evil meant, but in today's day and age, I did Google it just to make sure I had the right definition. But it's the idea of avoiding evil. Okay, if it was going to be evil over here, or somebody's going to be a bad influence, he was staying away from the evil. So Job had a good character. He's the character in the story, but his character, his reputation was good. Verse 2, and there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. So he has 10 kids. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-donkeys and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. Boys and girls, it told us what a great character he had. Then it told us all of the wealth and the things that God had blessed him with because of his good character. He was a man who followed God and God blessed him. He had a great house and people knew who Job was. Verse number 4, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, everyone his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. Boys and girls, he has a family that loved one another. They wanted to spend time with one another. So Job is blessed with physical possessions. He owns a lot, and his family gets along really well. He's blessed with a great family. Verse number 5, and it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about that Job sent, they got to eat a lot, that Job sent and sanctified them and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Job was concerned about his kids' spiritual well-being. He was concerned that they follow God and they not sin against God. And so he offered sacrifices on their behalf because he was concerned about their state spiritually. So we open up the book of Job with all these great things. We learn about Job. This is awesome. Well, boys and girls, he had a reputation amongst the people. But it wasn't just the people who were watching Job and his actions. In verse number 6, we clue into a meeting that's taking place in heaven. So we were first 1 through 5, we were here on earth seeing who Job is. Now we're going to, in the Bible, take a trip to heaven and see what's taking place in heaven. Verse number 6, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Verse 7, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in all the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? So Satan says, I've been walking about the earth. I've been seeing what's there. And God's like, hey, have you seen Job? Have you seen what a great guy he is? So God has noticed Job as well. Now we know God watches us all the time, but I thought it was kind of cool thinking about God in heaven having a conversation about you and I. We know that Jesus intercedes for us, talks to the Father for us. Well, it's kind of a cool glimpse we get to see about this conversation taking place in heaven. So what's Satan's answer? Well, in verse 9, then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? If you remember back in Genesis, Satan's really good at asking questions. Verse number 10, Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So Satan says, yeah, I've seen him, but it's just because you've blessed him. He only does what's right because life is going well for him. Life is good for him. And God's like, okay, put him to the test. Try it, but don't touch him. Okay, you can put him to the test, but do not touch Job. So in verse number 13, it says, And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them. And the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain all the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped, alone to tell thee. So in this day when Satan gets his free reign, a servant comes back and he says, wait, all the servants were killed, and all of the animals who were doing the plowing have been taken. Verse number 16, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So one servant comes and he says that the oxen were plowing and they were feeding, and they were attacked by an enemy. Then fire comes down and eats up the sheep, and everybody dies except one servant. Verse 17, while they were yet speaking, there came also another and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away. Yea, and have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped to tell thee. Verse 18, it keeps going, boys and girls. While he yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. Wait a minute. Up to this point, it's been animals that died, and animals they are important, Peter. We like Peter. But boys and girls, there is a difference between an animal and a human, and the difference between what he owns, his property, and his children. But as we read in verse 19, And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped to tell thee. Boys and girls, in the matter of a few short minutes, it says while they were yet speaking, the next one came in. One after the other, Job finds out he loses everything, including all of his children. Boys and girls, he went from up here with everything to down here. The question is, boys and girls, Satan says that Job only worships God because everything's going well. Well, what will Job do? That's where we're going to end at the end of chapter 1. In verse 20, we're going to see how Job responds when he loses everything. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Job stood up to the test, boys and girls. His reputation was upright. He avoided evil. He feared God. But he didn't just do that in the good. We started the chapter with that. But even at the end of the chapter, when he's lost everything, he's still not sinning. He's still fearing God and worshiping God. Boys and girls, I hope that's your reputation, that whether things are going well, awesome, or whether you're in the valley, that you can still trust God and that you'll still do what's right. Well, boys and girls, that's just chapter 1 of Job, and it packs a ton into chapter 1. I hope you'll join us